If you're like me, then you want to perfect and fine-tune your controller settings in order to get you the biggest advantage possible. So you watch every YouTube tutorial out there and copy other YouTubers and streamers' settings, trying to find something that's going to give you the edge to get you over your plateau, only to find yourself really frustrated and back where you started because it didn't work for you. If this is you, then you clicked on the right video, because today, not only am I going to give you a comprehensive guide to the controller settings, but also I'm going to be showing you how to match your current controller sensitivities to the advanced look control sliders, so you can fine-tune your aim without all the guesswork. And as always, this is your host, Halison or Derek. Let's get right into the video. Alright, hopping into the video here, we're already in the firing range, all set to go, playing as the main man Caustic here. So today we're going to the settings. We're not going to cover any gameplay today because those are largely preferential. You guys have probably established things that work for you since Season 2, Season 3. The only thing that really needs changing, or might need changing, are the controller settings over here. So we're going to hop on over here and take a look at what's going on here. So as you can see here in the default controller settings, there's a lot of different options you can have just by default. So you have a variety of sensitivities ranging from 1 very low all the way up to insane 8. And the problem with this scale is that, especially from 3 to 4, there isn't really a linear increase in the sensitivity. So instead of being able to make those gradual adjustments to your sensitivity as you would plan, you end up making these really big unplanned gaps. And this video is going to help you show you how to bridge those gaps and to increase your sensitivity to your liking, just based off what you have right now. So it doesn't matter what kind of sensitivities you currently have. You're playing on a 4.6 and you're trying to adjust to that because that's a setting a lot of popular streamers use, but you're not quite able to control it and you're having difficulty transitioning. And whether your response curve is classic, steady, fine aim, it doesn't matter. I got you covered in this video. I'm going to be showing you how to exactly set this to your liking. Okay, so we're going to scroll all the way down to advanced look controls, turn it on. I'm going to make this as quick and dirty for you as possible, but if you need to skip something, go ahead and go to the timestamps in the description below. As you can see in the menus, there's a variety of different things, a lot more than what you saw in the default screen. On the right hand side of each slider, there's going to be a description of what's going on, so I'll let you guys read that. They're pretty simple to understand, so I'll trust that you'll be able to muster your way through that. But first, going on the Deadzone, how do you reset that? For every single slider, there's going to be a gray bar essentially, and that is where, if you made things default on the in-game preset menu, that's where it's going to lie. So in this gray bar in Deadzone, that's actually going to be the small Deadzone, and for that setting, that's going to be a little bit higher than a lot of people need. So you can go and bump this down all the way to 0 and see what happens to your aim. As you can see, as I bump this down all the way to 0, my aim is going to drift a little bit to the left and up, so I can go ahead and adjust that 1 notch until I don't see any change in the movement. So maybe go ahead and move your stick a little bit just to reset it and make sure that it's actually good at not moving you for real. As you can see, that it's still drifting a little bit to the left for me, so I'm going to go ahead and bump that 1 more notch up. Now that we've got the Deadzone covered, let's move on to the next item, which is the outer threshold. I recommend you keep this where the preset is at 1 above 0. It doesn't really matter too much. Most of the problems that controllers have are the stick drift, and it's really rare that you see a controller not able to go to the maximum. Like, you can't go to either side of the thumbstick unless you have a piece of cheese or food stuck in the thumbstick. There really isn't a whole lot of reason for you to mess with this setting. Okay, so now we're at the response curve, which is a juicier part of the video, something that people might want to pay attention a little bit more. My response curve is currently at 0 right here, and if I bump this all the way up to the gray line like so, that's actually going to correspond to the classic curve, which is a pretty popular curve for a lot of players to play on. Now, if you've been playing on the classic curve, go ahead and leave it where it is, don't touch it, because that's really going to mess with your muscle memory. For players that play on linear, which is getting more popular, go ahead and bump this all the way down to 0, and that's going to be your linear curve. Now, if we want to get the steady curve, this is going to be actually moving the response curve over the classic line and going halfway between 100% at the response curve, so that would be the fine aim on the right hand side, and just kind of keeping it around right here, and that'll be your steady curve. Here's where it gets a little bit tricky when you go to high velocity or fine aim. Fine aim is going to have the response curve set all the way up to 100% right here, but the tricky thing is, as when you go down to the look control settings, the settings that actually control the dynamics of how you turn left and right, up and down, you want to go ahead and turn the ramp up time all the way down to 0. for all of these. Any delay or ramp up time, go ahead and set that to 0. So for any look control setting that you're gonna do, if you played on fine aim, you're gonna want these settings, the ramp ups, they're gonna be 0 all the time for you, no matter what. As for high velocity, it's gonna be really tricky to replicate this. I don't think many players are gonna be playing high velocity just because it's so weird and the movement's really janky with it. You'll notice that if you do play high velocity, that it's gonna move a lot on you just if you move the stick just a slight amount. So the unfortunate part is you can't replicate this in advanced load controls. No matter how you tweak the sliders and the settings, you're not going to be able to get that same amount of acceleration. I do believe that if you use an Xbox Elite controller, you can set this yourself by using the instant setting on the thumbstick. Alright, now that we've covered these 3 basic settings, we're going to go ahead and skip the Pro Optic settings. We'll actually do that last. And now we're going to move on into the actual look speed dynamics in this section right here. So this is going to be the meat and potatoes of the video. Again, if you're looking for your particular setting, I'm going to put timestamps in the description below, and each one is going to correspond to the same hipfire and ADS sensitivity. So for example, in the section I'm going to do immediately after this, I'm going to be doing 1-1, so hipfire 1, ADS 1, 2-2, hipfire 2, ADS 2, and so you can just mix and match based on your preferences. Just really quickly before we get into the settings, I want you guys to pay attention to the yaw speed, pitch speed, ADS yaw speed, pitch speed, these settings, because it's funny because if you move the slider all the way to the left hand side, you're still going to hear a noise. So just, I'll let you guys hear this for yourself. I'm not sure you guys heard that or not. You can go back and re-listen to it. Even when my slider appeared to be fully to the left, I could still click it one more time. So that's really important because all the settings that I have that are starting from the left hand side are completely from like the bottom. Like you can't click it, just keep clicking until you can't hear any more sounds. So if you move the slider to the right and you don't see the bar move, that's completely okay. I've already taken that into account. Alright, starting off with the hipfire ADS sensitivity of 1. I've already posted how much I've adjusted by on the screen, but for those of you who are listening in at home, I'll quickly narrate. Keep in mind that when you see a red number, that means I'm starting the clicking and adjusting from the very, very bottom or to the left. If you see a green number, that means I've started clicking from the default gray line. And if you see a gold number on the right hand side of the bar, that means I've started clicking away from the max or when the bar was already fully to the right. That's a pretty important distinction to note. Okay, so I already have hipfire ADS 1 on the screen right now. You can go ahead and take a look at that. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to roll the music, and where on certain parts I need to say something, I'll go ahead and say it. So sit back and enjoy. We are currently looking at hipfire ADS sensitivity of 2. So we're now looking at hipfire ADS sensitivity of 3. Easy way to do all of this real quick is just set everything at the gray default line. Alright, now let's go ahead and move on to hipfire ADS 4. Note that right now I'm going to start adjusting from the default line, so that +6 on the yaw speed is actually from the default line, that gray bar. I also want to say that an ADS speed of 4 is actually a sweet spot for a lot of professional players as well. It allows you to track targets pretty well without having too much of the sticky game that comes with using a controller. Moving on to number 5 here. Notice how big of a jump you get from the hipfire speeds, and that's why a lot of players are struggling with the transition between 4 to 5 and trying to get that turn speed higher. It's just simply too big of a jump. Okay, jumping to 6.6 here. Notice that there is quite a bit of a jump between 5 and 6 as well. 6 is a sweet spot for a lot of professional players such as Daltouche and Nicewig, and I tend to agree. It allows you to turn pretty fast and whip on people and get some sick flicks with the Peacekeeper and Mastiff. However, it can be a bit of a jump just because it's a pretty high sensitivity to control, especially if you don't have a control freak and you're playing with a shorter default thumbstick. Now here is lucky number 7. With this one, pretty much everything is going to be to the max except for the pitch ADS speed. Pretty insane sensitivity. I don't know any players that actually use this effectively. Now with 8 here, I do believe that with my testing that it's actually the same as 7, except now everything is completely maxed. And now your aim assist is actually turned off. If you do play this, then you're a god and you probably don't need to watch this video in the first place. I can't imagine any realm of reality where this would actually be a good idea. So there you guys have it. Those are all of the preset in-game sensitivities translated into advanced look controls. So from here, you're going to be able to tweak and adjust based on your preferences. I'm not going to tell you how you play the game because you're individual. I know a lot of YouTubers already said that, but the problem what they do is they suggest their settings and a lot of people just copy them and they get frustrated because they're not their favorite YouTuber or streamer and it doesn't really work out for them. So from here, you're able to take what you already know and what you're comfortable with and adjust from there with fine increments. Just like how mouse and keyboard users are able to set their sensitivities up by increments of 0.1, why can't controller players be able to do that? And so what I've done is giving you guys a good jumping off point. So when you're going from 4 to 5, you can now basically go 4.1, 4.2, 4.3 in order to nail down the sensitivity that you need without making those big jumps. I hope you guys liked the video. It did take a lot of time to test all the sensitivities and make sure they're exactly correct so you guys don't get thrown off. And if you made it this far, you definitely enjoy what I have to say, so go ahead and give it a like and subscribe. Appreciate it, it means a lot. If you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below. I do reply to each and every single one of them. If you guys want me to cover any more elements of settings such as the gameplay or even mouse and keyboard settings, since I do play a little bit of mouse and keyboard, go and let me know. I'll go ahead and do that if people want to see it. And with that, that's going to end the video. Thank you.